What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Victory Point podcast. My name is Alex Martinet. This is our gaming podcast at vpdaily.com. Joining me is Andrew.
Hey, Alex, thank you for having me on big night for you. We can see your shirt that you're wearing today. First game of the NBA Finals, Golden State versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. How you feeling?
I feel pretty good about it. The game starts at 6 o'clock during we're recording this on Thursday, leading into the finals right now. So I actually have the ESPN Watch ESPN look on the right hand side right now. So if you ever see me just jump up right now, it's. But I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be a great series. I hope so. Are you a basketball fan?
I like college basketball more than the NBA, but I follow NBA. I'm a Knicks fan, so not a lot of success in the last couple of years. But it's very interesting as from a coaching standpoint to see such two dominant teams in a league of very good players. In Golden State and Cleveland. This is the third year in a row, I think, that they've gone to the finals. So it'll be very interesting because Golden State took one of them, Cavs took the other. So this is the rubber match, if you will.
What I suspect is going to happen is that I think Cleveland has the better power forwards and centers, and even though Steph Curry is one of the best three-pointer shooters of all time in the NBA, I think it's going to come down to who can rebound the ball. So it might be a boring series to watch, just in general. But yeah, I think it's probably going to be Cleveland in 6, if anything.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Yeah, I'd be interested to see if they show, gaming related, if they show a new trailer or the trailer that we've already seen of Call of Duty World War II. Because Call of Duty likes to reveal those games usually during the NBA Finals, but this year they revealed it a little bit early. So I'm interested to see if we get a new trailer or just, the one that we've seen during the Finals.
Today they announced, or I think it was yesterday, one of the two, they announced that Kyrie Irving was going to be the cover athlete for 2K18 or 2K19. I don't know. I think it's 2K18. At a certain point, when you just keep on reviewing sport games, they kind of just all blend in. But
especially the naming conventions for sports games being a year ahead.
At a certain point, I'm just waiting for the point where it's just a season pass or a yearly subscription, and it's 2K, and it's not like this.
That would be interesting. Hey, that's an interesting idea. Sell one product and then sell it, $40, $50 for basically the re-up of a new season, a literal season pass, if you will.
I mean, I think there's a lot more that goes into it, and I think that might.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because for a sports game, I think it's important. So I think it's important to see how much technology, every 2 to 3 years, is probably where the tech gets upgraded. But still, the roster updates, the ultimate teams, you really have to be built into that community. And last year I really was, but. It really does depend. I didn't really play much of 2K, and I think I got my feeling last year, and that's probably why.
I'll be very interested too, because this is the year they've announced it that NBA Live 2018 is supposed to come out this year. I know that EA's had a spotty track record of releasing their NBA Live games the last couple of years, but NBA Live 18 is a thing. That's coming out this year, so I'll be interested to see how it does in a market that's pretty much dominated by the 2K series these last couple of years.
I'm actually all for EA if they decide to not release a console port or a console version of it, and just allow 2K to have that version, because I actually think their EA mobile version is really great. If you're looking for just a quick basketball game waiting between class or on the bus. I think
they want the money. They want the money, so they're going to.
They want the money. They want the money, but I think it's too late for them to take back market share from 2K, because it's been 4 years, 5 years.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years. It's been a while.
And 2K has honestly they have people who are invested in their MyPlayer creators. They have people invested in their Ultimate Team, and also 2K is also doing a brilliant move by having their esports league and featuring I think it's the first year. So I could
Yeah,
beat
they partnered with a bunch
Yeah.
of the NBA teams, which is pretty cool. Not all of them, but a lot of big ones.
It's about half the teams, but for the most of the teams that you're getting, it's like the Chicago Bulls, the Warriors. It's all the big names. So it's
Yeah,
like the next year in 2K19, those people are going to come back. Like it's going to be the full 32, and
absolutely. But competition is always healthy. And in 2005 this is a great example. Is 2K5 was arguably the better football game of that year. That was the last 2K football game to come out, but it was a great game. And I think that NBA Live, whether it's good or not, it's healthy at least that people get a choice to choose, because obviously the other sports, Madden, MLB, they're all very you really have one choice in what you want to play. So it's always cool to give the consumer the option to choose the game that they want. Hopefully it's great. Hopefully we get a little bit of the Hoop God on stage coming out at E3 this year.
That was easily the best part of E3 last year. Is everyone's like, Hoop God is on stage.
Love the Hoop God. I wish he was in my phone as the Hoop God, but so interesting that they kick off the show too. So I'm sure they'll have a little segment where they'll talk about Madden and and NBA Live and all of their sports games.
Game 3 or 4 should be around the same time at E3. So I think, if anything, if they're going to make a splash with NBA Live, that would have to be the chance. If they don't, I would say if you don't see NBA Live, a console version of it, it's probably never going to happen, or at least not. It's going to get pushed back again.
Yeah, if they push it back again, they're in trouble for sure, because they delayed NBA 17, which essentially became NBA 18. So it would be an interesting decision, and I'm sure somebody's out there developing it. I don't know which EA studio is working on it, but it's resources that are money's going into this game
If I remember right, I think it's the Florida studio.
Tiberian.
Tiberian, but
okay,
that studio is also working on Madden. It might be their Vancouver studio, because I know that Florida studio is also working on Madden. So, taking people off Madden and putting it on the C project is not really the best business move, I don't think, for EA. But what do you think is going to happen with the NBA Finals? Cleveland in 6, Warriors at 4.
6 is good. 6 is a number that I think is what's going to happen. Who's going to take it? It'll be very interesting. I mean, LeBron James did bring out his Godfather book. This is a big LeBron James pro move. Every time he makes the playoffs, he brings out the printed version of The Godfather, which is about like 1,500 pages, and he just carries it around with him wherever I go. What a power!
It's just like right.
Oh yeah, what a power move! He always, he's just leaving it. That means he's serious and locked in. But Golden State has a very, very good team. Is Kevin Durant back yet, or is he still done for the season?
No, he was back for the Western Conference series.
Awesome. Yeah, he's a great player, and I think that he definitely helps the team in a way too. And obviously Stephen Curry is playing so well, so it should be an interesting series. I'm excited for Golden State fans. I'm excited for Cleveland fans, and hopefully this is what the whole year was leading up to, because these are two incredible teams. So hopefully the series lives up to the hype.
You know what else is wondrous?
Okay, I'll take that.
An actual good DC film for once. According to you, from what I've been told, how is Wonder Woman?
Yeah, I liked Wonder Woman a lot. We talk about the DCEU films to date, obviously, Batman vs Superman, Man of Steel, and Suicide Squad, and I've reviewed 2 of the 3 on Victory Point, and you could read our reviews on the site. They've been okay. They've been okay to less than okay, and Wonder Woman's the first. It's okay. It's better than okay. I think it's good. And I think that it ushers in a, not new era, but a different type of DCEU film. All 3 of those films, Man of Steel, excluding, are much darker takes on the characters. And they were definitely going for an edgier type of film, where Wonder Woman's not really that. Wonder Woman is a good mix of the original Captain America movie and the original Superman movie, Christopher Reeve's one, where it's very wondrous in the things that she's doing. Some might call those scenes cheesy, but it's just cool. Like Wonder Woman is doing cool stuff in this movie. It's not, oh my God, I have to talk with my inner monologue of whether I should do this and how I can survive in this world of men. Ick. It's her doing some really cool stuff.
Is this your first Patty Jenkins, the director of Wonder Woman? Is this your first movie you've seen of hers?
No, I loved Monster, which won Charlize Theron a Academy Award when it was released back in 2003, a while ago, a long time ago. But I loved Monster, and so it's really cool that she did this film.
What do you think of just her work in general?
She's great. Yeah, I like her. I liked Monster again. She has, she's done other things besides Monster. Not really feature films. I don't believe that too many since Monster, but it's cool to see her. This movie's great, and like the action scenes are really well done. A little CGI heavy towards the the finale of the film, which seems to be a lot of the DCEU movies. But Gal Gadot is wonderful. I mean, she's great as Wonder Woman, and they do a good job with Themyscira and the island, and Robin Wright is awesome, and it's they do some really cool stuff there. Again, some similar trappings of DC movies and superhero movies in general. The villain's kind of weak, Baron something, I forgot his name already, and some of the side characters don't play well. Chris Pine's good though.
Okay. I mean, like, I'm glad Chris Pine is. He seemed. I kind of totally forgot.
Yeah, their dynamic. Pine. Yeah, their dynamic's pretty good in the film. Not Steve Rogers, because that's Captain America. Steve Trevor, I think his name is. I don't know too much about Wonder Woman, the character, from a comic book standpoint. So it was also really cool, going in, where like as somebody who's like knows everything about, or not everything, but loves Batman and is grew up with him. It's cool to like go into a movie where you don't know so much. Similar thing happened with me with Guardians of the Galaxy a couple years ago when I went into that movie and had a blast. So again, I don't think Wonder Woman is incredible by any sense in the word, but I think it's a good to great movie, and easily, in my opinion, the best DCEU movie.
So, like, what separates Zack Snyder or Patty Jenkins from Zack Snyder? Is there simply with Zack Snyder, it seemed like he was more moody, broody. It was like more dark and heavy. Is Patty Jenkins trying to bring a light color to this DC universe in a way?
I think Wonder Woman is definitely a lighter film.
Yeah.
But I think Zack Snyder was very much going for not character study, but changing the way that these characters view the film. Because if you take Batman vs. Superman and you unravel it, Batman's not really a good guy in the Batman vs. Superman universe. The version of Batman that he portrays is a very close to broken, if not broken, superhero, and obviously we had a lot of think pieces, and we talked on the podcast before about his version of Batman killing people and stuff like that. And even Superman, Batman, Zack Snyder views that character as Superman in a much different lens than other the movies that came before it. And there is something in media called the Superman conundrum. In essence, what that means is Superman's a very hard character to write for, because the interesting stories come from when you make him human. Because if you think about it, nothing can beat Superman sans kryptonite. And so you have to bring a story so Man of Steel tried to do it as basically like a coming of age story of Superman becoming Superman that we know. But, once he's at the top, it's like, how do we view someone with this exuberant amount of power?
Yeah, it's the same thing with the Hulk on the Marvel side, where he's super powerful, but at the same time, I think that like making an entire movie surrounding the Hulk, and maybe Thor Ragnarok is going to solve this issue, or maybe there might not. I think there might be but I think the comparisons that I've seen about Thor Ragnarok is that it's a buddy cop film in a way, because Thor and Hulk kind of bounce off each other. But what I was getting at is that they use it for more of a one hit punch, and when it hits, the audience really feels that when it comes down. But with all Superman films, you have to really. It seems like you always have to strip down what his main power, because he's just too invincible.
Yeah, one of my favorite Superman stories is a wonderful animated film called All-Star Superman. It's also a comic book, of course. And in that he saves a group of scientists in the beginning of the film, but he one of the things Superman, the sun, gives him his power. So in the beginning, he saves a group of scientists who are close to the sun, and it basically gives him too much power, and he's slowly dying. So it's essentially Superman's last days. Like, how do you act being a man who knows that his time is limited, that he's going to die, especially having so much power that you do? And it's a really interesting story, and one that I would like to see done in a live action movie maybe one day.
What type of Easter eggs are there? Without really spoiling, is there anything like that's? I know this is the one that's connecting to Justice League. This is way before, but this is the one that's somewhat the bridge to Justice League.
Yes and no, because there is no like obviously, like you said, it takes place in 1918. Excuse me. So but there's no connection to the Justice League movie so much, like in the event, not the Avengers, or one of the films, Captain America, they have that post-credit scene where it's
the first Captain America, and I thought that was kind of brilliant the way that Marvel set it up, where the first 4 Marvel films are all in the future or all in the present time, but the last film is when it's World War II or World War I think it was, and then it fast forwards 100 years, or it's a present time where Captain America is woken up and now has to deal with what is going on, and that's that. And then a Future Soldier, or what was the second one? It was what was the second Captain America film?
Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier. I was like, Future Soldier, Winter Soldier.
Yeah, great movie.
Yeah. Played on those elements with him.
Yeah, but I kind of liked it in a sense like that this is a standalone film. Like, hey, this is Wonder Woman. This is who this character is, and she's in a very specific place and time. Obviously, with the war and everything. So I like it in that sense, because a lot of where Marvel movies fail is even in their tentpole blockbuster movies, they're always trying to set up the next film. Like Avengers Age of Ultron has a really interesting bad guy in Ultron, but yet the majority of that movie is set to set up phase 3 of the Marvel franchise, and it fails at what it's trying to do in that sense. So it's nice to just have a standalone film. Even Batman vs Superman is very similar in that way, where it's it's slowly setting up what's coming next with Superman's fate and stuff like that. So it was nice to just sit in the moment and be like, hey, let's just talk about Wonder Woman. And there's a lot in this movie because they have to unpack the mascara and who Wonder Woman is, why she's doing this thing, and helping Steve Trevor and the band of Merry Misfits in the film, and it's cool.
Today marks the 5th anniversary of Dark Knight Rises releasing, and I think and I thought it was kind of funny looking back, and I don't know, I was kind of looking back on Dark Knight Rises, and I think it was probably the last good DC film. I think Man of Steel, you can somewhat go 50-50 on, you can either love it, but I think having the dead holes that, after Dark Knight Rises probably did hurt them more than gain.
Yeah, well, after Dark Knight Rises especially, and right between that Man of Steel time, they, Warner Brothers and DC essentially said, hey, we saw how this worked for Marvel, we're going to do our own thing. Right after they finished a very successful trilogy of Batman films, they're like, okay, we're starting our own universe, but we're going to need a new Batman and things like that. So,
yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, but like leading up to the premiere of Dark Knight Rises, I remember just reading like a ton of stuff about how we could have had, Joseph Gordon-Levitt be the next Batman, and
yep. That was definitely a big rumor. And then at the end, they do that real dumb thing where it's like, why don't you use your name? It's really pretty,
Dick
Robin.
Or Robin.
Like, they say the word Robin. I'm like, oh no.
I liked it. That hit me right here. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I definitely have some qualms with Dark Knight Rises. I think it's the weakest of the trilogy by far, but it's still, like you said, it's still a good movie. I mean, it's overly long, and there's just some weird plot stuff that happens in that movie.
Let's just break my back, and then 2 weeks later get walking Gotham.
Oh, that's a great plot element to it, and just the fact that literally the first 2 films want you to know that it's very much a Chicago-esque type city, And then the third one is just like, no, it's more to like Manhattan. You know, we got bridges and
or Pittsburgh, one of the two.
Yeah, we got bridges and stuff like that. Don't worry about it. We got some stuff. And, you know, obviously Bane's a little cheesy and stuff like that. There was a lot packed into that movie. And it's also very hard to live up to a movie like The Dark Knight, obviously, coming after a film like that. And, you know, they reworked a little bit of the narrative after Heath Ledger's untimely passing. So, you know, they reworked some of it. But yeah, still a good movie. And then Man of Steel, like you said, 50-50. I know a lot of people that love that movie and a few people that, you know, absolutely do dislike it. So it's, you know, and like I said, superheroes are definitely a topic of contention no matter what. You saw Alamo Drafthouse Theaters decided they were going to have 1 out of 22 of their screenings was an all-female showing of Wonder Woman, and the internet got mad, which is something that the internet does a lot these days.
I think what I loved more about that is how their Twitter feed was like, you know what, we're still gonna do it.
Wait, they added one. They added one, which was just great. They're like, hey, we heard the feedback. Another all-woman screening, and I was like, let's go. That's awesome. Alamo Drafthouse is wonderful. Really cool theater experience. I don't know if you guys have any in the for the listeners in your area. If you're listening and if you have an Alamo Drafthouse, I highly recommend checking them out because they do some really cool stuff.
I think the funds went to Planned Parenthood, though, so that it's supporting a great cause. Yeah, like just a great organization.
Yeah, and like I said, a great movie. One of my favorite, if not my favorite, DCEU movie, and it makes me excited. Like coming out of this movie, more so than any of the DCEU movies, I'm like, wow, I want to see more Wonder Woman. Whereas like Batman vs Superman, I was like, ooh, okay, that was kind of dark and like. Yeah, sure. I mean, like, I think Ben Affleck does an okay job as Batman, and it's just one of those things where I'm like, okay, this is a heroic movie. I guess that sums it up. I have a piece on Victory Point, you know, talked about how Batman vs. Superman wasn't heroic enough. You know, Wonder Woman is a heroic enough movie. You know, she does awesome things, and that's really, really cool. And, you know, when at the end of the day, you know, you want that stuff. You know, one of my favorite superhero movies is the original Superman. And people say it's a very cheesy movie, and sure it was. It came out in the 70s.
Yeah, it's at that time.
End of that movie, he flies around the Earth to basically change, you know, basically make the opposite rotation so he can go back in time and save Lois Lane. And I'm like, that's fucking dope. That's awesome.
Spoilers, man. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, that movie does have problems, but like that's so cool. Like that's the kind of stuff that you really, you know, you really like to see and stuff like that. So it'll be very interesting. And like you mentioned, there's a bunch of other superhero movies coming out, you know, this summer and this fall. Spider-Man, Thor.
Next week after Wonder Woman is The Mummy. We were kind of talking before the show started about I don't know where that sits after Wonder Woman because if Wonder Woman like the last 3 DC films, including Suicide Squad, have all been blockbusters. They all hit like over 100 million. So like in its opening weekend, what is that going to do? Like, what is that possibly? It's going to have to compete with something that has a lot of momentum with, you know, the women's only screenings, with word of mouth being really positive about a DC film, which is, oh my God, what a concept for once. But yeah, even The Mummy is supposed to be Universal's dark universe, quote unquote. So revisit.
For now, I mean, Warner Brothers had some umbrage with that name because obviously there's something called Justice League Dark, and they're thinking about doing a movie or a franchise with the Justice League Dark characters, and obviously, you know, there's a little conflict of interest there. So it'll be interesting to see if that comes to fruition.
That universe is supposed to be Frankenstein. What else was it?
The Mummy, Frankenstein, Dracula, the Wolfman, all that. Invisible Man. Johnny Depp signed on to play the Invisible Man. Javier Bardem signed on to play Frankenstein's monster. And then there was another one who's playing the Bride of Frankenstein.
But yeah, I have no general. I don't know how to read that one because normally you can somewhat say like, well, this is going to do X, Y, Z. This is going to do 30 million. This could do 40 million. But this could either be a really good hit or it could just bomb really hard for Tom Cruise and Universal. And we're not.
I hope so. Like, I hope it doesn't because I think that, you know, we were talking off air. I think Tom Cruise has made some smart choices in the last couple films that he's done. And I think that the pieces are there for a fun summer blockbuster type of movie, because this is not the Mummy that we remember from the early, late 90s, early thousands with Brendan Fraser and stuff like that. So it's definitely much more of an action movie. And I'm excited to see if it does well or not. I mean, $125 million budget. Obviously it would have to make over 250 to really be considered, doing decently, which I think it can hit. Maybe not the first weekend, but I think it can hit that. I hope it can hit that. But yeah, and then we have movies like Cars 3 coming out, and the summer has some big movies. Transformers. People were up in uproar today for Transformers because it was leaked that it might be 3 hours and 2 minutes, and people were like, "Oh, easy there, Michael Bay. What are you doing?" Michael Bay since came out and said, no, it's actually shorter than the other ones. So it'll be very interesting to see how that movie A is and B does. I'm sure it probably will make $1 billion because the last one did, and people love Transformers. Who wouldn't? I mean, Transformers is awesome. So it'll be interesting to see how that movie does.
Yeah, I think the last Transformer movies I fell asleep on just because that one felt like it was like longer than
2 hours 45 minutes. That's a long movie. The last Transformers.
Oh man, but the last one I fell asleep on. Like I could not keep my eyes open. Even though I love Transformers, I just could not give a rat's ass about what's going on with that movie. But yeah, I'm actually really excited about the next one. Not the Dark Knight, but what are they calling it? The next Transformers movie? Isn't it
The Last Night?
The Last Night. It's not the Dark Knight, it's the Last Night.
Yeah, right.
But yeah. Crazy June, actually just crazy in general 2017 about how good the entertainment has been on all fronts, TV, movies, video games. What came out last week on Friday, technically, kind of like the beta, but was Friday the 13th. You played it, but I know what it kind of is, but it's the Jason Left 4 Dead sort of game, if I'm kind of getting the
yeah, not so much Left 4 Dead. It's more asymmetrical, so think Evolve. Dead by Daylight, which is a very, very similar game that came out close to a year ago now, maybe less. And yeah, so there are one side plays the campers and the other side plays Jason. Each act differently. And there's a few, I think 4 or 5 different types of scenarios, like escape by the car. You need the gas and you need the keys and you got to get to the car. And, you're essentially running around Crystal Lake, trying to accomplish those goals. And Jason is, the player who plays Jason, he's much more powerful, has different abilities, and usually can kill you very, very easily. It's fun. Like I said, it's janky, a lot of places, very buggy.
Yeah.
A few issues with connecting and finding games and things like that. But when you're actually in the game, it's fun. Like I said, with all asymmetrical games, and unfortunately with Evolve too, it's how long this will be fun. Because, I played about 2-3 hours of it, and I thought I saw what was there. I played as Jason once, I played as the campers the rest of the time, and I feel like I understood what was happening.
Did you play with a bunch of friends, or
Nope,
you just?
I played by myself. I think playing with a bunch of friends could be better. This is definitely a very stream heavy game. It'll do well on Twitch and show your followers and stuff like that. And I played it with a group of randoms who are doing voice chat, and it does proximity voice chat, which I like. So you can't really hear everybody until you're close to them. So,
or if you have like a radio tower or something of that degree.
So it was cool in that regard, and they were helping me usher it through it. I was playing on the PC, but yeah, a little janky, a little buggy. Hopefully the devs continue to work out some of the bugs, and content is king with a game like that. How will they support it post launch is a very important question to see if that community thrives or dies.
Are you a Kickstarter? I think this was a Kickstarter project.
It was a Kickstarter project. I was not a backer of the Kickstarter. I like the Friday the 13th movies, and I like Jason, but I was not a Kickstarter backer because I saw what type of game it was, and I played Evolve for about a month. I played Dead by Daylight for about a week. And those asymmetrical games are very much, you see, they're not one-trick ponies, but you see what they have to offer. And if you like that gameplay loop, it's more of that. But I was like, okay, I saw everything that this game was doing, and I don't need to play it anymore.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think as Evolve kind of proved that there hasn't really been an Evolve clone, or Dead by Deadlight I haven't played, but um, I think that kind of a gameplay aesthetic hasn't really morphed into other clones quite yet.
Yeah,
Uh,
asymmetrical games are very hard to pull off because usually it's a many versus one type of scenario more than anything else.
yeah,
And everybody obviously wants to get. And again, I should mention that you can set a little box that what you would like to be, but they randomly assign you to what you
yeah.
want to be. So in a game with 10 players, 12 players, you have a 1 out of 12 chance to be Jason. So if you want to be Jason, sometimes you're out of luck. They said that there is a single player like story campaign coming, so it'll be interesting to see what that entails. But right now it's multiplayer only, from what I saw and played.
This isn't early access, right?
Nope. I believe
Yeah,
this is the full version of the
yeah.
full
I
version of the game.
I believe it is $30 only digital. There's no
Uh,
retail box.
40 I believe. 40 I believe on let me check. Yeah, on Steam it's $40, so
Yeah.
$39.99 actually. And I could swear that I heard somebody was gonna do a physical version of it. Somewhere, maybe limited run games.
Yeah, like I haven't seen a digital or a retail version of it quite yet. But that could just be me briefly coming across my emails and not seeing it. It wouldn't surprise me if they do a limited supply at EB Games or GameStop. EB Games.
Yeah, so on their Kickstarter, actually, they asked, "Will there be a physical version of the game?" And yes, it will be $60. It's not out yet,
Yeah.
but yeah.
It wouldn't be surprised if they do a limited run around October.
And they said the single player should be patched in by the summer of 2017. So
Summer. That's a really tight frame. Like must be really short then. But they've been working on it for a while, so who knows?
yeah, right.
I would say we would talk about The Walking Dead, but we're going to save that for next week. Tyler is sick right now, so we'll see him next week. But anyways, but we're 2 weeks away from the E3 press conference, but craziness going on. So not much news is currently happening. House of Cards was happening last week. Okay. If you want to talk about Star Trek, go ahead.
Oh yeah. So Star Trek Bridge Crew VR. So obviously you know that if you listen to the show that I'm a big VR proponent. Love it. I have an Oculus Rift and a PlayStation VR actually, and I know Tyler has a PlayStation VR, and a long-awaited Ubisoft game finally launched, which is Star Trek Bridge Crew. So briefly, Star Trek Bridge Crew is a basically simulation game, not simulation, but it's an adventure game simulation where there are 4 roles total. You can be the captain, the helm, the engineer, and like the deck person, and each person has different responsibilities, and you're basically communicating with each other to go through these scripted missions. And then there's also like a randomly generated mission thing that they have too, and it's just a lot of fun. There's 2 ships out of the gate, the Enterprise and I think it's called the Aegis, which was made for the game. And it's really cool. I mean, like I said, I jumped on with a group of randoms the other day, and it was really, we were calling him captain, and he was really steering us towards, I played helm, so I steer the ship and get it ready for warp drive and stuff like that. And it was really cool. He was very, it was a lot of fun, and we played it very professionally, more than like goofing off. But this is definitely a game where if you get 4 buddies,
you can
just goof off and just enjoy your time together in virtual reality. And I should also mention, really, really cool thing that all of Ubisoft's games do, Eagle Flight, Werewolf Within, and this, they're cross-compatible. So PlayStation VR players can play with Oculus players who can play with Vive players, which is really ingenious, and I hope more VR games do this going forward, because the medium is still very niche, and I feel like as many players as you can get is great. So I'm really excited to jump on this. I was talking with Tyler off air, and he said he's having a good time with it, so I can't wait to jump on with Tyler and play a few missions.
Yeah, I played it at E3 I think a year ago. So, and it was really buggy, and like halfway through it, when we finally started to get settled into our positions, we started to do the exact same thing, yelling at our captain,
Yeah.
where we're going. We're
Stuff
going.
gets crazy. Stuff gets crazy, and depending on what type of captain you're playing, you can really engage every ship you find with every Klingon ship, or you can definitely play stealthily or play diplomatically and try to avoid conflict as good as well as possible. But yeah, it's fun. Touch controllers are active, so you can see your hands waving around and everything like that. And it's just really cool. Just getting one of the cool things about VR is just basically chilling in a virtual space. So essentially this, you get to chill in a virtual space while playing, Star Trek. And the missions are generally long. The one I played with a bunch of random people took about 45 minutes, which are cool. And there's about 5 of them preloaded in the game. And then, like I mentioned, there's like a random scenario generator that'll do some more stuff.
You can't walk around the ship at all. You're just focused
Nope,
on the cockpit.
yeah. So I recommend playing this game sitting down. I have a room scale set up, so for a lot of games, walk around like super hots and dodge and stuff. But this game, I recommend sitting down. Yeah, and like I said, depending on where you play, you're at a different station in the ship, and you can turn around and look at the captain and the other players of the game and stuff like that. Really good tutorial. Goes through all 4 of the ship positions. And this game can be played single player, so if you don't want to play it with random people or you don't have 4 people to play with, you can play it single player and give orders to other stations and jump to those other stations if you want to take direct control, which is a nice addition. Again, we mentioned this with Friday the 13th, and I think and I hope that Ubisoft, I think it's Red Storm developed this game. I hope that they, continue to support it because it's great. I'd love to see more missions, maybe another ship. I know that's a big ask. That's a lot of development, but
Yeah.
I'd love to see more content for this game. And they were running a cool thing. 100 Uplay points got me 20% off or 10% off. So it was only $30 instead of the $40 instead of the $50, excuse me, $50 retail. So, I think it's great. I think it's one of my favorite things I've done in VR. That being said, I feel like depending on how fast you play it or how long you play it for a day, I feel like it could get stale because there are only 5 missions out of the get-go. I think the random thing adds to it a little bit. I'd be very interested to start doing the random thing and seeing if they repeat itself, and if so, how often and how quickly.
That's be a big curious of mine, because that'd be a really cool facet if the roguelike, if all the missions were kind of roguelike and you had to keep on going back and learning how the mechanics work. But I think kind of just VR games are still learning what makes a VR game work the best. And this is still a 4-player multiplayer VR game. And it seems like the reaction has been really positive about what it's trying to do and how it's trying to fit into the Star Trek universe.
Yeah, and like I said, the biggest, not issue, but the biggest qualm people have with it is essentially that it is not void for content. There's a decent amount of content there, but it's one of those things where when you play Mission 3 is Mission 3. So if you match with 4 other randoms, or 3 other randoms, excuse me, and they're playing Mission 3, you're going to play Mission 3 again. And hey, this is the set piece that happens in Mission 3. This is the decisions you can and can't make. So I feel like from that standpoint, it could get a little tedious. Yeah, repetitive and tedious. But like I said, it's a cool feeling, sitting in the Enterprise, and it's a 1-to-1 recreation, which is really, really cool. And especially even from a not as huge Star Trek fan like myself, it's a really cool feeling just being able to, literally flip a switch for switch, seeing in the show.
Yeah, and considering that Star Trek games have not had the the brightest history.
That movie game was trash.
Oh yeah,
I reviewed that movie game, Star Trek the game or something. I played it in 3D actually, and it was bad.
Glitches, everything else. That was one of the worst games of that year, about 2013.
It was rough. It was rough. My review is called "Set Phasers to Run." Yeah, it was a rough little outing, but yeah, really cool. If you have VR, I highly recommend picking this up because I think it's one of the coolest things that VR has done yet.
And VR is not going away. judging
No.
by some of the invites I've seen at E3 or getting for E3, we're going to see a ton more content coming to Oculus,
And
HTC.
what is it? Oh man, Kill Breeze. Yeah, I think it's Starbreeze. Starbreeze. Starbreeze has their own standalone VR headset coming with a Walking Dead game. So it'll be very interesting to see if we get any information about that from this year's E3.
That sounds like it's a good idea too.
Yeah, apparently their headset has a wider field of view and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see if that thing's any good and price point and all that good stuff too. The market is not saturated yet, but there's a lot more headsets coming.
Starbreeze are the Payday developers.
They did that, and
yeah, I think that's from 505. But
505,
ton more developers are using and learning how to work with VR. This will be the first time I think this will be the first time VR will be featured at the PC gaming show, and that should be a focal point going forward.
I'd be very interested in. Not really anything to do with VR, although I think that it's more move. But what was it called? Dreams, the game from Meteor Molecule, the game where you make stuff. They showed it at E3 last year and the year before, and we haven't heard anything about that. So hopefully we hear more about that. I want to hear some more about that.
I mean, that's the continual line with Sony, where they have a lot of great.
They announced very early.
Yeah, they have a lot of great first party exclusives. Get people hooked. So they announce it right away, and then they make you wait 2.5, maybe 3 years.
I'd also be very interested to see on the opposite end, Xbox and Microsoft. I'd be very interested to see if they mention anything about VR with the Scorpio. I don't know if they will. There were rumors that potentially the Oculus would be there, but there's not enough USB ports to on a Scorpio to accommodate the Oculus, which takes at least two, at least three. No, two. At least two. Two or three. At least
three. It's three.
Yeah, the headset sensors, and I have a third sensor, so it's even four.
Headset sensor, and then an HDMI port.
Yeah, so it'll be very interesting. That's very hard. Granted, they were the console that launched with an HDMI in and HDMI out with the Xbox One. So it'll be very interesting. We talked about this. You can listen to our E3 Extravaganza Blowout show. I'd be very interested to see if there's an HDMI in on the Scorpio, to see if they just go away with that TV stuff in general.
Because Bethesda is at 6 p.m., 7 p.m.
9. They're 9. They're so late. I just saw that. I was like, no, not not yelling at you. But I looked at that. I was getting my calendar ready, and I was like, 9 o'clock? What the fuck are you doing, Bethesda? That's 12. That's 12 Eastern. I'm like, what's going on? Like, why so late? It's very late press conference.
Microsoft, I think, is somewhere around 1 or 2. And I'm not too sure, like, how long they're going to go on for. Is it going to be a nice condensed, bullet by bullet?
Minutes. Microsoft's usually about a 90-minute show, which
90-minute, but like last year they had only Minecraft to show for it, and that was roughly like 15 minutes, 20 minutes at tops. GDC, there was not a lot of developer talk from what I was getting at or what I was hearing about anything regarding VR from Microsoft. I would be really surprised if the Microsoft conference goes longer than 2 hours, because a lot of people go from Xbox conference to the Bethesda conference and then write up everything. It's a weird conundrum, because I don't know how we're gonna do this.
That's a late night, 9 o'clock, especially if it's 90 minutes.
Is it really at 9? Because I thought it was at 6.
No, I think it's at 9. I mean, I can double check, but
because that's 12 p.m. on.
Yeah, it says 9 p.m. our time, so 9 p.m. LA time, which is where the event is, and 9 p.m. I'm obviously in Western time as well. So
Bethesda press conference. Conference was at the same day as usual, 7 p.m.
Here's what I'm looking at, and then
this is great content.
I know, right? Looking up information. Yeah, that'll be interesting. That's a late night show, but it would be cool. I mean, Bethesda has some cool stuff to show, hopefully, and I'm interested to get the ball rolling. And then obviously Monday's a big day too, so I mean, it'll be interesting. But yeah, cool. Yeah, lots of cool
9
stuff.
p.m. Holy crap! Holy crap! All right, well, it's gonna be a long night.
Lots of cool stuff, though. Lots of cool stuff. I'm excited for E3, which starts on June 10th, so next Saturday.
So if Microsoft's press conference is still at 2 p.m., that gives them a ton of leeway to go 2.5 hours, 2 hours.
Yeah, like I said, it's a Sunday afternoon, so I don't know how long they'd want to take up people's time on a Sunday afternoon. So I'm thinking 90-minute range, which is a good press conference time. 2 hours, maybe if they go over, but 90 minutes seems like a Microsoft thing to do. And I'm sure Microsoft likes to just show their thing out of the gate. So I'm sure they'll show the Scorpio as soon as the press conference begins. They'll take off a little, raise it up from the floor or something and be like, this is the Scorpio. It's awesome. You can do 4K and some fun stuff. So now we're going to talk about the games that we have for it. And I think that'll be a good press conference. I hope so. I hope it's a great press conference. I hope everybody's a great press conference. Fuck, man. I hope the PC gaming show is an awesome press conference. That had a rocky start the first year, got better the second year, and as a PC user, I hope it's even better this year, and they show some really cool stuff this year.
All right. Once again, there's not a lot of news. There's also not a lot of games coming out because everyone kind of E3 is 2 weeks away. I do want to do Tekken is coming. He's coming out on Friday, but that is honestly, I think that's another game that's a little bit too late. I've seen it too many times, and also I've got my fighting game fill with Injustice, which I'm currently enjoying still.
Yeah, and like you said, mentioning Tekken. Tekken's been out for about 1.5 years, 2 years in the arcades, and this is Fated Retribution is the version that that's coming out now. So,
yeah, for me in general, like I've been loving my time with Injustice. The mini universe or the mini events that they're doing with the game daily are keeping me invested. On Monday, they've been doing a Wonder Woman event, so you can have the costumes and props, or just the costumes from Injustice.
Oh yeah, in the multiverse version. That's
multiverse. I don't know why I call it miniverse, but whatever, multiverse.
That's a cool thing. I like that. That's a really cool thing. That hopefully they do more events like that.
But I'm already starting to get tired of having to level up my character to 20 and then just start loot grinding my way up to gain the best stats. So I do hope that not every game starts to become Destiny in a way, and just because for the hell of it, which is something that I don't mind, but I'm just kind of tired of every game trying to take elements of Destiny and apply it to their game. But I think that the way they've done it is probably best suited for Injustice and probably fits its game. Unlike how Street Fighter V handled its DLC strategy and handled that's microcurrency and yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like for me, like I'm digging it. It just depends, like how much free time am I gonna have for the next 2 weeks, because I don't really have much. But
yeah, right. I can't believe E3's already here again, but I'm excited for it.
All right, I think that's a good point to wrap up the show. Once again, we're going to make it like a shorter episode because we just don't have enough things to talk about. But next week is our 50th episode of the Victory Point podcast, also known as the Final Frame podcast for the longest time, but that's an inside joke. Or point taken, one of the two. Anyways, Andrew, where can they find you at?
You can find me on Twitter at ASposito426, and of course, VPDaily.com. We're super excited for the upcoming weeks, guys.
Next week will be our last episode before E3. We're still working out our schedule and see if we record a live press conference breakdown like we did last year. We're getting that all situated. You can find me on Twitter at almartnay. On iTunes, if you're watching us there, please give us a review. We would We appreciate it. Also on YouTube, please subscribe. We appreciate the support. Until then, thank you for listening. We'll be back next week. See ya. You want to play this out, Andrew?
Of course.
I really hope I don't get a copyright strike just because of that.